that it was a classified report. The second time I asked for it, I was told we did not do the report. So there is another instance where things weren't done according to standard or reasonable procedures. I do not want to talk about the environmental impact statement. Other people are more familiar with it. I want to talk about the decision process that should have gone forward to say we're going to locate the EOD activity at Fort A.P. Hill. There is a process, well-defined, well-used, and well-exercised in the Defense Department called the Cost and Benefit Analysis Program. When you get ready to do something, you decide what your objectives are. In this case, we're going to move some facility from one location to another location. What you do is you look around in facilities that the Department of Defense owns or that the United States government owns to see if there's a capability already in existence that you can use without building something else. A small indication is White Sands Missile Range is 360 times larger in land mass than Fort A.P. Hill. So you go and pick these locations and you look at the parameters of what the limitations are of these locations you picked. You look at the limitations of the parameters where you want to locate. You pick a math model to do analysis of cost assessment. You ought to have your math model VV&A, verified, validated, and accepted. When you go through this process, you come out with an answer that everybody has worked on and there's no dispute. My answers are, it's a classified report or we didn't do that report. Therefore, I question the Army's approach on picking A.P. Hill for the EOD activity. There's nothing to say of any subsequence that this is the right location. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. My name is Steve Meehan. I'm from the Port Royal District, and I'm here on the issue of Fort A.P. Hill. And Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I thank you for your time and the opportunity to speak here. How do I begin? My focus tonight is on the rather narrow proposal by the Army to establish an EOD hands-on training operation. Just a small part of the larger intention to bring to Fort A.P. Hill the Sustainment Center of Excellence, the explosive portion of training purportedly being accomplished at Fort Lee. This involves 4,000 of the some 23,000 soldiers that would come under the sustainment and 23,000 of the untold thousands more explosive demolitions which will become our newly defined neighbor. I'm here to state that I am pro-Army, but I'm not pro-stupid. What do I mean by that? I believe in the need to properly train our military personnel to accomplish the defense of our country, while minimizing the risks inherent in a violent undertaking. I don't think there's anyone in this room, who doesn't feel the same way. However, that does not assume embracing or even accepting a program which is ill-conceived, deceptively packaged, and arrogantly pursued. Some ideas on what I mean by ill-conceived. The big picture has something in the range of 1 million man-hours being spent going back and forth between Fort Lee and Fort A.P. Hill every year. That involves, of course, our roadways, it involves our traffic, and involves at least $15 million worth of yours and my money as part of the members of this country. They're talking about training in an environment that was pretty right for World War II, but we haven't had a war like that in over 65 years. And it places this training in the most expensive and heavily populated corridor of the United States. Doesn't make sense to me. Deceptively packaged. Well, they started a few years back buying up the developmental rights of properties contiguous to the fort to increase a buffer zone. Then create a study which happens to omit the existence of the community I live in, Porter Bay, and happened to be very much contiguous, right next to where they planned to do all these explosions. They respond to negative criticism of their final analysis by going ahead and creating another analysis. And then they've modified that analysis in the last few months by saying orally, not in writing, orally, that they're ready to reduce the explosive volume that they'll be dealing with, about down from 50. I'm at 3 already?
Yes, sir.
Whoa.
You wrap it up.
I thank you for your time. I hope that you will pursue Mr. Popowitz's proposal and do it quickly for us. Thank you.
All right, sir. Thank you for coming tonight. State your name and voting district.
My name is Heather Howes, and I live in Porter Bay. I have 5 children, and we homeschool our children. And last year, when the bombs were happening, the really loud bombs, my children were scared to death. My child, my 3-year-old at the time, was screaming. Our entire house was shaking. Things were falling in my daughter's room, and he was afraid to go to bed that night, afraid that there were going to be bombs. They're home all day learning, and we're just concerned that if this progresses, and there's no guarantee that it's not going to be like that on a regular basis, they won't be able to learn, and there'll be no way for them to be homeschooled. The conditions were like living in a war zone, very traumatizing and traumatic. They can remember even coming here, all the details of what happened that day and over that weekend. And it's just not a place that they can live and grow up in. And if it were to be like that, we could not live there. My husband and I know that they could not live in that home, in that neighborhood. So I just ask that you seriously evaluate what is being considered, and if there's any possible way to do things differently so that it doesn't progress. If there's a better way to do it, I just ask that you would seriously look into it and consider it and make sure that testing is accurate and done by maybe another party so that there's no bias. That's just, please look into it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. State your name and voting district.
My name is Trevor Pankwitz, and I am from the Madison District. Last year, I was accepted into the Chesapeake Bay Governor's School here in Caroline County. And if you look out into this audience right now, you'll see that there are many students and families of their students that are very committed to this program. We work hard now to pave our future and the future of Caroline County as well. Many of us need Chesapeake Bay Governor's School to be able to get through college or to be accepted into a college that we need. We also need this program to graduate due to the fact that some of us were just barely getting by in regular school, only within the fact that the curriculum was so easy for us that we wouldn't pay attention in class and then go breeze through the test, get 100, and have like C's, B's, and C's on our report card. But due to Governor's School, I've personally seen my friends push themselves to better improve themselves, to be better students and citizens. And their grades have actually risen up to A's due to this advanced curriculum that we've been going through. CGBS, it has some of the best teachers that I feel I've ever met in my life. They present the program as well as possible with all materials that we can understand at our current level. And I really do urge you to push for as much funding towards education as possible, even if the school board decides that they don't want to keep Governor's School open. It's not just us that will be affected by your decisions for education. It will also be decided for the special education and the regular students at Caroline High School. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for coming tonight. Are there any other citizens who need to address the board on any topic? Are there any citizens who need to address the board on any topic? If there's anyone else, please line up. Just state your name and voting district.
My name is Paula Williams, and I'm in the Port Royal District. I live in Portabago Bay Estates, and I appreciate the opportunity of speaking with you this evening briefly. I'd like to state first how much I appreciate the time that has been spent by many of the citizens here and some of you on the board to study this issue of the Fort AP Hill explosions. I think much has been said about the effects of noise, and there is, of course, a correlation between noise and the damage that has resulted from it. But I feel like I would like to know more about the resulting vibrations that are caused by this noise and how that's affecting the damage in people's homes. You are here as elected officials to serve all the citizens of our county, and I hope that you will think more about serving the citizens as opposed to thinking about how you react will affect the relationship with Fort AP Hill. I support our troops, and I don't wish any ill on any of them that serve our country. I know that they need to be trained properly. I just feel that the citizens of our county need to be able to live a peaceful life. This is not the war zone here in Caroline County, and I feel that we would really like to have your response as soon as possible to the resolution that's been proposed, and help that to go forward with a study that needs to be done of the effect, possible effect of these further explosions that we can expect if this decision goes the way that Fort AP Hill is heading. And I appreciate very much your time this evening. Thank you.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Hi, good evening. My name is Allison D. Aguilar. I live in Portabago Bay subdivision.
I'm sorry, I couldn't catch your name.
Allison D. Aguilar,
Okay. Okay.
Portabago Bay subdivision, Port Royal voting district. I ask that you request Fort AP Hill to do an objective environmental evaluation. Currently, we cannot sell our house. What am I going to do as a homeowner? I'm losing value in my home. There might be possible structural damage. Do I abandon my house? Do I foreclose on my house? It's really put us in a quandary. And this is my first home. So.
All right, thank you. Are there any other citizens who would like to address the board? Are there any other citizens who would like to address the board? Are there any citizens who would like to address the board on any matter? All right, seeing none, we'll close the public comment section. And certainly, majority of the issues tonight, one is AP Hill, and I appreciate Mr. Popowitz and his concerns, and he did address it earlier this evening, that the resolution, and we'll continue to look at the resolution that Town of Port Royal has, and they've provided. I don't know if Town of Bowling Green's had one or not, or if there's any others. We'll look at those, but we'll pursue that further. We've asked staff to look at what's appropriate for us to do at this time. So we hear you folks, and we're going to listen to you, and we'll be reporting back to you real soon on where we are with a resolution. Okay, also with the Chesapeake Bay Governor's School, in just a few minutes you're going to hear the county administrator talk about the county budget, and a lot of answers are in that. And I think we all realize that these are some of the tougher times that we've ever seen, and we all are going to have to respond to the times. And again, if you can stay and listen to the county administrator's proposal, we're going to look at the governor's school and working with the school board. I met with the chairman of the school board twice in 2 weeks, and we're going to continue to work together to see where we can make things happen. And we're going to work closer together to try to make sure we do these things. But again, we can only work with the funding that we have. And that's pretty much where we are. And that really moves us into the next items of business. We do have the unfinished business with the T21 program. And Mr. Ashcraft, who's going to discuss that topic?
Mr. Chairman, I'll introduce it. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, ladies and gentlemen, this item at our February the 9th meeting was set on the agenda to request the board to repeal the funding for the Victory Park, to consider that as a real possibility because of the financial situation in the county. This is a park that has been established to be placed behind the Caroline County Courthouse. We are the recipient of a T21 grant, and we are asked as a county to put up $110,000 in a match. County staff reviewed this. We've talked to some members of the board, and originally, as I said earlier, it was an agenda item that was meant to ask the board to repeal the local funding and put this project at least on hold for an undesignated time in the future. During the interim, I had discussion with the town manager of Bowling Green, certainly had input from the mayor, and I believe town council had its own meeting. And town council was now interested in discussing this matter further in a way that could generate a stronger partnership that already exists between the county and the town, possibly looking at a scaled back version of this project, and again looking at a possible way of sharing the resources in which it would take to match the T21 grant and make this project a reality. So, Mr. Chairman, as you can see, the mayor and the town manager they are here. My recommendation to the board would be to ask staff, with me taking the leadership of this, to go back and continue discussions with the town, and mutually we would come back with another proposal, or at least a result of those discussions, to you, as will the town do the same for its council.
Okay, Mr. Ashcraft, I appreciate that. And there's been a little bit of confusion, I think, with some folks, because I have received some phone calls about, people say, why, during these times, why are you building a park in Bowling Green? Well, it's really a comprehensive plan that improves the green, but also gives us parking spaces, needed parking spaces around the courthouse. So it's everything, more than a park. But at the same time, we have to look at with the funding situation, we had to look at that. Now, I do see the mayor's here, and if it's okay with the board, maybe he can give us an idea of some thoughts that maybe they have, if you'd like, or if not, we can continue like Mr. Ashcraft said, and take discussions offline. But if you want to give the board some ideas, we welcome you to fly a few balloons tonight.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. And members of the board, Percy, I think, summarized it well, and I'll be brief. And as you all remember, the last time I spoke to you all about this issue was regarding the time when it was tabled because of economics, and then it was brought up again, and the possibility existed about moving the project somewhere else. And the town council took the position that we didn't write the grant, we didn't ask for the park, but we thought it had benefit to the courthouse complex and the town. And if the grant was written for the town, and if it was going to be taken forward with a match from the county, we wanted it to occur in the town, and that was our only position. We certainly understand the impact of the budget and the school system and everything else. So once again, when it was started up again, council met with your staff and also the consultant, and we had one meeting, and now we've learned that it may be tabled again because of the economy, and we totally understand. There is no one in the town of Bowling Green or on town council or our staff that is saying it's bad times and we want to park in Bowling Green. Never has that occurred. This grant has never been about a park. It is not a park. It is a parking lot, a closure of a street, and making an area around the new courthouse complex safer for pedestrian traffic. And we're all for that. If we are going to stand to lose that $400,000 from the Commonwealth Transportation Board because we don't have the $100,000 match, we understand that. But council at our last meeting directed me to tell you, if there is a possibility, before we say, here's your $400,000 back, before we do that, if there's a possibility to scale the project back, and whatever that means, doing away with the parking lot or doing away with some aspect of that project, we would like to explore that, and if it could cut back the scope of the project and cut back the total amount, that would cut back the match, and possibly the citizens of Bowling Green and the town council could help with the match in some degree or all of it. But we cannot determine if we can do that until we know how that money is supposed to be spent. In other words, if we were to back out the parking lot, what would that leave the project? We've never been given numbers. So if we can enter into some discussions with your staff and not spend any more money on the match, but say, how much was this component of it? How much was this? If we backed out this for right now, and we could come up, the council could come up, and the citizens of Bowling Green could come up with the match, could we do it? Because it would improve your courthouse complex, our county seat, and it would not make us behind the 8 ball if we ever apply for a T21 grant again. Because how hard will it be for your staff to write another grant if the last grant we didn't take advantage of? Now, I'm all for not taking advantage of it if we don't have the money. Let it go. There's more important things. But if there's a way to scale back and still do it, we would like to have the opportunity to enter into talks with you all. And that's our position. Thank you.
Okay, I think we can certainly ask staff to work with the town and see if there's some synergies, additional synergies that we can find to,
very good,
maybe scale it down and
sounds good,
find more revenue.
All right, thanks.
So we have a good partnership here.
All right, we do. Thank
There's
you.
an opportunity. Okay, and we appreciate you being here, Mr. Mayor. Okay, next item 6, the medical and dental insurance renewal plan. Mr. Parton.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, the county's current 12-month contract with Anthem for medical and dental insurance is set to expire next month. Earlier this year, we decided to issue a request for proposals for health insurance for the first time since 2001, I believe, to see if better alternatives were out there. We also hired a benefits consultant, Strategic Employee Benefit Services, to assist us with completing the RFP and analyzing the responses. We received proposals from Southern Health, United Healthcare, and a company called InHealth on the medical side. Several other carriers expressed interest initially, but declined ultimately to submit a proposal. Anthem submitted a renewal quote for 16.3% increase on the medical side and a 1.4% increase on the dental side. As an aside, when we initially met with them in the fall, they were talking at that point about an increase in the low 20% range. So they did drop the number somewhat when we issued the RFP and hired a consultant. frankly, we had hoped to get a better response from the RFP. We believe that several carriers were scared off by our claims experience. For example, this year alone, we've had 9 large claims over $25,000 each. If we issue an RFP in the future after a good year of claims experience, hopefully we'll get better results. After analyzing proposals, our consultant concluded that the Southern Health and United Healthcare proposals did not provide a viable alternative to Anthem. The InHealth proposal did offer the possibility of a substantial savings. However, it's a model based on a high deductible plan and a health savings account, which is very different from the health insurance that we offer now. We do believe it's worth considering in the future, but simply too confusing to try to implement this year. Therefore, we believe that renewing with Anthem is the only viable option. However, 16.3% is too much for both the county and the employees to absorb. The county would have to pay approximately $209,000 more over the next plan year, and employees $62,000 more to keep the same plans in place for the renewal. So clearly changes have to be made. Our goals in making these changes became trying to maintain the basic HMO and PPO plan that we have in place, or as similar to our current plans as possible, while obviously reducing the cost as much as possible. And after discussing different options with our consultant, we came up with the following recommendations. 1, reduce the number of plans that we offer from the current 4 to 2. And by doing that, we would eliminate the richer benefit, more expensive HealthKeepers 15 and KeyCare 15 plans, and retain 1 basic HMO plan and 1 basic PPO plan. Number 2, begin creating an incentive for employees to select the more basic HMO plan rather than the more expensive PPO plan. Starting next month, if you approve our recommendations, the county will contribute the same amount for both the HMO and PPO plans. Obviously, that will have the effect of forcing employees who want the more richer benefits PPO plan to simply pay more for it. The basic HMO and PPO plans that we would retain are identical to our current plans with 1 key exception, which is actually an improvement. The HMO plan will now be open access, meaning that as long as you stay within the HMO network, you don't have to have a referral to go to a specialist. Making these changes will allow us to reduce the amount of the increase to 10.9% and save almost $90,000. Even with these changes, however, the cost for coverage in the new plan year for medical insurance will increase by $182,000. We've shown in attachment 1 in the board packet the impact on employees if the county provides simply flat funding identical to the current year, which is just under $1.3 million, and we implement the changes that I just mentioned. As you can see from the board packet, the amount of the increase in monthly costs for employees is quite dramatic. The bottom line is, unless the county contributes more money toward the cost of health insurance, employees will have to absorb very large increases and or drastic changes will have to be made to the type of health insurance we offer. For example, implementing high deductibles. This will likely make health insurance virtually unaffordable for many county employees. In the board packet, we've provided a second scenario depicted in attachment 2, where the county picks up the same percentage of the cost increase as it has in the past, except that its contribution is now based on the HealthKeeper 25 HMO plan, which is the least expensive plan. This approach will cost the county an estimated $121,000 more than the current year, but will limit cost increases and plan changes to what we believe are reasonable levels for most employees. The impact on the monthly cost for employees, again, is shown as in attachment 2 in your board packet. Some will actually see a decrease or a small increase because they're being forced onto less expensive, more basic plans with the elimination of the more expensive HMO 15 and PPO 15 plans. Mr. Ashcraft's proposed budget that you'll hear in a few minutes for FY11 already includes the $121,000 increase that we're talking about. On the dental side, we had better luck. We did receive 7 proposals. And staff recommends that we accept a proposal from a company called Assurant to replace Anthem. We believe, along with our consultants, that it'll provide as good, if not better, benefits, and it's slightly less cost. The county can save about $2,400 by switching to Assurant, and the employees will also see a slight decrease in their monthly premiums. So to summarize the recommendations, again, it's renew medical coverage with Anthem for an additional 12-month period, reduce the number of plans that we offer from 4 to 2, approve the employer-employee cost share percentage that I talked about, and accept the proposal from Assurant for dental coverage. In closing, I want to thank the group that worked on this, which included Finance Director Fran Hatcher, our HR Manager Leslie Moore, and our consultant Strategic Employee Benefits. That concludes my remarks, Mr. Chairman. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, and basically I understand the recommendation is the same recommendation that's built into the budget, the Anthem plan, drawn down to just the 2 options. Board members have questions, Mr. Parton, on the proposal. I guess the deadline is 28th.
The deadline, we were hurt by the change in the board meeting, right, so we really need to move forward with open enrollment tomorrow, as a matter of fact.
I understand. Board members have question on the option? I mean, I don't see where there's an option primarily, but Mr. Davis.
What percentage of the employees now, you may have told us this, that participate in the 2 programs that you're recommending we make the basic coverage for the county employees?
Brand, do you have that? What percentage of employees?
What is the percentage of the employees that participate in basically the 2 programs that we're going to say we're going to fund greater than the other 2 programs that is out there?
Probably close to half the employees are already in the 2 current plans that we're proposing.
Okay. Thank you. I'll agree. There's not much choice.
Stay there for a second, Fran. If I can, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely.
No, I'm on.
Mr. Vice Chairman.
I'm just quiet. Did we do all the math on this 121,000? And I just asked Percy for the number of employees, and I just want to make sure it's like $650 per employee. Does that sound right to you?
Some employees won't see an increase. Some employees will actually see a decrease because we're getting rid of 2 of the plans. The employees that are on the HMO 15 actually will see a decrease in their premiums.
But, okay, how many employees are on the lowest plan, which is the one you just mentioned? It's like 10?
Do you have it with you?
Because, I mean, it's nice, and I'm like a numbers guy, so if you've got 20 employees that are going to get a discount, but 150 that are going to pay more, the numbers kind of really don't add up to me. And
well, we didn't really have I worked with Mary from Strategic Benefits, and you'll have to pronounce your name for him. This is Mary Sweda. And I must have a spreadsheet that's about this big, for every possible scenario to work through this. And this was the best option we could come up with that didn't cost the county even more money.
Yeah, I mean, I understand your work, and this is not something I haven't said, and you know, I have the reputation of saying things in public that I would say in private or vice versa. I think the insurance companies are gouging us. And I'm like, it's like, duh, Mr. Obvious, but we didn't have, Mary, we didn't have anywhere else, nobody else would take us.
No, as Alan had stated, we had the opportunity to look at NHealth, but you're looking at drastically changing the concept of the plan overall, and that is, it's an education process for your folks. I think it's a long-term solution. I just don't necessarily think it's a viable option today because we just don't have an opportunity to educate your folks.
But I kind of thought this time around we were going to add the schools to give us a bigger, better pool. Did that fail?
It didn't fail. We just, because of the timing of getting into this and the fact that the schools had already done theirs, this is part of the process for the next renewal is to get all the information because it just was not enough time. And the schools had just renewed theirs.
Yeah, they renewed in October. So the first thing we're going to have to do is when we both have some, excuse me, have time to get together and get on top of it early in the process and figure out how to make it work, to even see if it makes sense. But it couldn't be done this time because of they just renewed and our renewal was coming up.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, and Vice Chairman did remind me that we sent to our employees open enrollment for February 24th.
24th of 10.
Tomorrow. Yeah, which is tomorrow. So we do need to move on this, take an action tonight. We have a recommendation by staff.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we accept the recommendation by staff on the health care for employees.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and probably second that we approve the recommendation by staff on the proposed health care plan for county employees. And all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All
Members
right.
of the board.
Thank you all. Okay, next we have the presentation of the county administrator's proposed 2011 budget. And Mr. Ashcraft.
Chairman, I need about 2 minutes to set up the screen. And
Can we take 5? Okay.
5 minutes will work.
We'll take
yes, it'll be there when you get back.
Short recess. Okay, we'll reconvene the Caroline County Board of Supervisors meeting. And Mr. Ashcraft, the floor is yours.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, ladies and gentlemen, it's my annual privilege and opportunity to present to you the 2010-2011 budget. And as a way of prefacing the contents of this document, I feel like it's important to make relevant the decisions that have to be made in a matter of proposals from administrators, not just me, but administrators throughout the Commonwealth, throughout the nation. The decisions that are being made now are of a nature that none of us want to make. Caroline County, for the last 2 or 3 years, despite the pressing economic times, we've somewhat been able to insulate ourselves because I believe all the localities and all the jurisdictions that are contained within this county have done a very good job of trying to manage their budgets. But when factors determine out of your control, which in this case is the state and the national economy, and the policies and the procedures that are being handed down from those two entities, we are always the last to receive the bad news. And as the bad news travels to us, it starts to affect the people that we care about, the people we've known for a long time, and ultimately, when you're in government, the services that you have to deliver. I saw a CNN poll just today that said that over 60% of the people in the United States trust local government leaders and the decisions that they're trying to make. Different than half of that trust those that are working on the state level or working on the national level. So people believe in us. People care about the decisions that are being made because they know that their households and their quality of life is affected by what we do here. So I just asked everyone as they see this document, as we proceed over the next 10 or 15 minutes, to understand that nothing contained herein is personal, and certainly any of the proposals that I make from a county administrative perspective are made in the best interest of this county, and they're made in the best interest of preserving the quality of life and trying to match all the services that this board has laid down over the years in order to meet a balanced budget, which is required to me by law. Mr. Chairman, I start with good news, and I always like to do that whenever I present any type of a situation. Caroline County is and remains an All-America City recipient. I don't think any of us should lose sight of that. I don't know that we say that enough at these board meetings or even at other meetings that we attend. But this honor was bestowed upon us last spring, and it remains ours for not only this year, but for many, many years to come until we choose to reapply, and then we'll get it again. We are a tough people, and we've received this award because we've weathered many storms. And those folks who went to Florida last spring and fought and presented the programs in which this award was given to us typifies what kind of a county we are and what kind of people we are. And despite whatever the downturns may be and the challenges before us, we will persevere. And I just hope that the receiving of this award makes that very clear to the county, that whatever is today, there will be a better tomorrow. Mr. Chairman, we're a growing county. Despite the economy, despite whatever factors influence growth throughout the Commonwealth and the United States, Caroline County continues to grow. The provisional number for 2009 is 28,245. That number will certainly be further defined when the 2000 census comes out. 2008 population was 27,942, so you see a bump in 1 year. And then I would look at the number in 2000 when the official census figures were determined, 22,121. So over 7,000 people have, for the most part, migrated to Caroline County in a 10-year period. And as everyone who's following the 2010 census knows, we had a kickoff on February the 16th, and it is vital to the programs that we're talking about this evening and other programs that impact our social services, that every single resident in Caroline County needs to be counted as part of the 2010 census. And I would ask everyone to be part of this effort to make sure that everyone is counted. With growth comes problems when the national and the state trickles things down to you. Our unemployment is 9.6. It has never been that high in Caroline County. We've never had that many workers who were affected before. Now we do. And going from a 4.5% unemployment just 2 or 3 years ago up to 9.6 as we stand here this evening. Only the city of Fredericksburg is higher. And as you might imagine, record numbers of people are utilizing the services by the Department of Social Services that they ever have before. And these aren't folks that have had generations of problems in their socioeconomic pocketbook. These are our neighbors. These are people that are taking advantage of services that they've never had to before because of the downturn in the economy. They're part of this 9.6 unemployment figure. And as the slide says, just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, it has over the last few months. It starts with the state of Virginia trying to make up at least a $2 billion shortfall. That figure and other figures that I'm going to present tonight